Hello and welcome to the Peanut Gallery Podcast, episode 5. We're in here. Today is going to be our 5th episode. Tegan's a little bit nervous because we're going to tap into some heavy subjects today. Yeah. Today is our big
focus on me today, so I'm a little nervous. But the subject we're covering today is very personal to me, and I have not talked about it in a really long time, let alone publicly at ever. No. So this is going to be kind of exciting, a little scary, but
it's a big one.
It's a big one. You guys have been asking for it and begging for it for a long time.
So Tegan, I've explained this on my TikTok quite a bit. Tegan had a boyfriend that committed a very heinous crime. And I went into depth about it in my TikTok story times. You can see my playlist from my point of view. However, I did mention that my best friend dated said guy who committed the heinous murder that he committed.
Best friend here.
And I'm going to be interviewing her today on her experience, having gone through that, what it was like, what happened fully, and we're going to get into the depth of it. Mm-hmm. How are you feeling? Are you prepared?
I'm prepared. I haven't talked about it in a little while. I do have notes, so if you guys see me, I'm just looking at notes, not reading the case file. I'm telling the truth.
Literally, someone thought it was Gypsy Rose.
Also, if you guys do want, more information, actual case details, there is an episode about this on Oxygen on Snapped.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty dead ass. This really happened, and I'm here to tell my story.
Ow. So yeah, I guess let's get into it. When I met Tegan, she was dating someone. Should we give him an alias, do you think?
No, I don't care. I feel like there's already a Snapped episode, so it's it's already out there. It's part of my life. I'm not ashamed of it. I mean, it's crazy, but it's it happened. So I don't know. I feel might as well be authentic about it. But what were you gonna say?
His name was Moquam, and he had a best friend named Devonte. And I guess I won't give away their last names just in case.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's kind of not necessary.
And Moquam was this kid I had met actually when I was 12. I think I met him. We lived in the same complex. He was always really funny and sweet. He was always a really nice kid, and because I had just moved to the area, I had no friends. So I started hanging out with Moquam and his friends. And then our friend Kaylee actually started coming over and we'd all hang out. Mm-hmm. Weirdly enough, she's my neighbor now.
I know.
But
that's funny.
We met him through that. And then when I met Tegan, she had just I don't know if you had started dating him or not, or if you were just getting into him.
So I'm trying to think. Basically, Quam and I met in 9th grade. When I think we mentioned this before, how our two middle schools would come together into only a 9th grade academy, and so we met there through. Sorry, it's it's kind of I haven't talked about this in so long. But our friend Jarrett that we always bring up, me and him when we have him on the podcast, I'll get into how I met him. But basically, I was staying at his house all the time. I basically lived there my 9th grade year, but so did Quam. So I think just exposure and being around each other, we ended up liking each other. He asked me out 5 times. I said no, and then I finally said yes. Should have just went with my gut.
And how long
one?
How long did you guys date for? I feel like I remember being
we dated
5
for
years.
3.5 years.
I remember being 5.
It was 3.5.
It felt, when you're younger, it feels like.
Well, it's because it was 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. So I guess then halfway, or our I think we started dating in July. So July, was fresh out of 9th grade.
Yeah,
that's when it must have been. So yeah.
Well, I basically just remember Moquam being a very sweet kid. I don't remember him ever. And I remember always feeling we would hang out, us 3, me, Quam, and Tegan would all hang out. Mm-hmm. And I remember him always being very sensitive and empathetic to certain things that you wouldn't assume someone who's capable of what he did would be empathetic towards.
Yeah. Well, when it happened, I was obviously shocked. What the hell? You feel you know somebody better than anybody when you date them, especially that young. So it just felt how did you have that side of you that I didn't know about? Because he was never, ever mean to me. Ever. Never raised his voice, never cussed me out. It really wasn't a toxic relationship that we were in. Honestly, I mean, it wouldn't have been the right thing for me. But if he didn't, get arrested or, you know, do what he did or go to jail or any of that, we'd probably still be together just off the strength of being comfortable.
Yeah.
But I'm I'm happy we're not. Like, his life was really kind of going nowhere. He just didn't really have hustle. He didn't have a hustle in him. So my life would be kind of nowhere as well.
Were there any, like, do you feel looking back that there were any red flags that you could have kind of pointed out sooner that you overlooked because of your relationship that could have indicated that he could do something that he, like what he did?
So, okay, I feel like we should kind of
we should preface what. So give me the rundown on what he did.
Right. Let me preface what happened. So I should probably give like some of the case details or whatever. I did write them down because I did want them to be, you know, as accurate as possible. I don't want to just sit up here and lie. Just go off of what I like remember. So, the actual crime. So this was our senior year. Mm-hmm. The actual crime happened, I believe, February 1st, 2017. Mm-hmm. Mind you, his birthday is like January 31st or January 30th or something like that. I really don't remember now. So like literally a day or two after his birthday, keep in mind, this all went down.
Yeah.
Mind you, all of this they had been conspiring to do this for like, I believe a few weeks before this actually happened. But, we have to introduce all the characters.
Right.
So okay, there's Malquam, who was my ex-boyfriend. Devante is Malquam's best friend,
who we were close with as well.
The other two people involved are Knowledge and Jasmine, and they date. But Knowledge is Devante's brother.
Right. So Malquam's just in it because of friendship.
Malquam and Devante, best friends. Devante and Knowledge, brothers. Knowledge and Jasmine, dating. And then
Jasmine's mother is the one.
And Jasmine's mom is the victim that we're talking about today. Her name was Julie Martin. Rest her soul.
And if you guys want detailed information on this case, you guys can literally search it up. It's on Oxygen.
Yeah, like I said, you guys can search it up. But I'm going to just go over the things I feel like you guys need to know to understand what happened, basically. So this was February. And she lived in a county, I'm just going to say a county upstate New York. If you want to look into it, you can. I don't want to like dox us really.
We're like, allegedly, she, like,
she might have. But,
and I don't want to dance around this too much because I know that there are
It is very serious.
Yeah, it's serious, and we're trying to be respectful of certain families. We're also trying to be respectful of like the law, like not get ourselves in trouble. But I want us to be able to be really raw about it, and so that's our plan today.
It's kind of, I feel like after I talk about it, I'm gonna be like,
thank God I did that.
I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
So, now that you guys know all the characters, Jasmine's mom, Julie, lived in a trailer park. And their plan basically was Jasmine and Knowledge were going to drop off Malquam and Devante in the trailer park, have them go into this lady's house because I guess she was really, really liked in the neighborhood.
In the community, I read.
So, yeah. So she wasn't the type of person who was keeping her door locked. Like, she was the type of person who was going to help you if you need it, from what I heard.
My mom had a friend that was actually really, really, really close with her.
I didn't even know that.
She was so close to home. Like, it was like,
yeah, it's really insane. But, yeah, and she lived alone. So they were going to hide in her closet and wait for her to come home and then,
for the insurance
attack
money.
her. Yeah, for the insurance money. That was all that it was for. So basically, the motive behind it was Knowledge and Jasmine had a really like tumultuous relationship. It was very, very toxic. Like, everybody was really scared of Knowledge, and even Julie had went on to say to one of her friends that if something ever happened to her, the Knowledge did it. Mm-hmm. So
it's crazy.
They
that
had
she
planned,
could see that.
So they had planned basically they were gonna, attack her and kill her, and basically it was gonna be they were gonna split it 70-30 because it was $100,000 policy.
Which, can we get into? That is not enough money for,
but listen,
like,
it gets worse because be crazy. Right, it gets worse because they were gonna do 70-30, but then the 30 had to be split between Quam and Devante, so they were only gonna get 15 each. So not that you should kill people for money, but if I'm killing somebody for money, I'm getting more than 15 fucking grand.
Yeah,
are you kidding me? You scumbags.
That's
like
insane.
You're literally scummy for that. Like, as fuck.
That's less than a year's worth of work at a minimum wage job.
Well, right. So basically, what ended up happening is after they killed her. Kwam went through and stole her credit cards, and they obviously left the house. And I think they must have been, I don't remember exactly, but they must have been taken somewhere else. And then Jasmine went back to the house and quote unquote discovered her mom and was calling the police, crying, my mom's dead, I don't know what happened, da 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 da.
Which is sadistic.
Yeah.
They have it written down. I've gone over the case file a little bit as well, but I remember it also because I think when something traumatizing happens to me, it's like clicked in my brain for a while.
Yeah.
But
for me, I kind of push it out. So right now I'm kind of like recollecting as I tell the story. I'm sorry if I'm not telling it like fast enough, but I just like, I'm really trying to like remember everything I can.
The rumors were at first, Devontae didn't want to do it. Malquam was really set on getting this money. Devontae hid in the closet and was crying and didn't want to do it. And then Malquam was like,
true.
Bro, just do it. And I've heard that that's confirmed several times. And that Malquam, and this is written in the report and on the show, was the one to finally actually suffocate her with the pillow and asphyxiate her, kind of like just, and kill her. And I feel like what's scary about that is that it is such a hand-on crime.
Oh yeah, that freaked me out badly.
And
like
to imagine that you slept next to him, how does like that make you feel?
Well, I think the craziest part too is like the lady, when she was around my mom's age and Kwam was coming over to my house every weekend, I know he would have never hurt my mom. Like no. I'm not trying to say like, oh my God, but what if it was my mom? Like
I never know.
You know what I mean? And it's just so like, it's just so heartbreaking. And it's even worse. Like imagine being betrayed by your kid.
Yeah.
Like your child. And they had a really, really good relationship before knowledge. I heard they were really, really close, like, and everything.
She always was like, my baby this, my baby that. And
right.
Talking highly of her is what I've heard.
Yeah. So where they conspired to do all this was in Devontae and Knowledge's grandma's basement.
Wow.
So once the crime happened, I don't know if it was right away, but Devontae's grandmother called the police and was like, I heard them talking about it. Like I literally heard them. And shout out her.
Which good on her.
Yeah, good on her. Yeah,
to...
good on her for real. Especially with, as I've heard how like scary and crazy Knowledge is. I've heard that from people who knew him. And just
he looks scary.
Yeah, for sure.
He literally looks scary. And when I saw the pictures, the mugshots, first of all, Malquam to me always had a little bit of like a cynical look.
He looked terrible in his mugshot. I was like low-key embarrassed about that.
He's like a little bit cynical looking. Like he just looks like more Devontae in a way, because I feel like Devontae and Knowledge look very similar. I feel like they have like a very like defined brow.
But Devontae had like the dimples, the big
Devontae
smile,
was sweet
and he
silly.
was really like upbeat and everything like that. I also want to mention that Devontae was literally so fucking smart. Like, if he had applied himself in school and not fallen victim to his friends, he would be a fucking rocket scientist. Like, he was literally so smart, and it's just so heartbreaking to see somebody so smart be so influenced and
be so dumb
and do something so crazy that I was so out of character for him. Like, with Kwam, like, I don't want to say that I could, like, I don't know. Like, he never gave me, like, killer
like
vibes.
Going back into that
like,
question,
but he was a little like shisty. Like I knew he had robbed people. Like I knew that he would, like I remember one Christmas he had got an Xbox out of nowhere, and I was like, what is this? Like, you don't have a job? Like, what the hell? I was working, but he didn't have a job. And I was like, what is this? And he's like, oh, I stole it out of somebody's car. And I remember I blacked on him because, like, why would you steal a brand new Xbox out of somebody's car at Christmas time?
That's insane.
At Christmas time, you just stole that from a kid.
So like, I think that's like a warning sign.
I guess it could be a warning sign, but yeah, he was just a very shysty dude. Like,
I think that some things, like when you're around it soup a lot, you can tend to like kind of like pass it off like it's no big deal. Like this, people do that. Like it's
well,
it's
and I was mad, but like me being 14, 15, like,
and you were exposed to it already. You're like, this is normal.
I was just like, you know, I'm not gonna break up with you, but I'm mad at you type thing.
Exactly. But it shows a lack of empathy,
and especially because now that I'm older, like I know the difference between just having an attachment to somebody and actually being in love.
Yeah.
Like now that I'm actually like in love, like I know it wasn't love. It was just a deep attachment, a good friendship maybe, but it wasn't like a real relationship. I feel like, but we were like dating. We were boyfriend and girlfriend. Everybody knew that, like whatever the case. But looking back, like it wasn't like real, especially because my dad didn't know about him until like senior year, because I asked him to come to our ball pictures, which was 2 weeks before he got fucking arrested, was ball. And I took him to ball.
And finally introduced your dad.
And, well, no, my dad actually didn't end up coming because he had a business dinner. So he didn't end up coming to my ball pictures. But, I mean, now looking back, I'm kind of happy because...
Thank God you didn't meet him.
Yeah, because 2 weeks later, he was going to be in the news. Basically, after that happened, after, like, the murder and everything like that, he kind of disappeared for a couple months, like 2 months, or February, March, April. Yeah, like 2 months.
I didn't see him at all.
Yeah, like, well, he was in, like, alternative school, and then he ended up dropping out before this even happened, really. So, like, I had to go through all this shit to get him to be able to come to ball, too, fucking asshole. And, yeah, so he's kind of just stopped coming around me. He was just weird for, like, 2 months. And then, randomly, he had an iPhone. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, just whenever he had something new, I'd be like,
did you steal it?
Did you steal it? Or what happened? And he'd be like, no, like, I had just got some money, like, whatever, da 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 da. And then, like, 2 months later, he had to pawn it because he couldn't pay for it. Like, he bought it, but he couldn't pay to keep it on.
Yeah.
So, the other crazy thing, so it was, like, weird that he just had got, like, $1,000 out of nowhere, though. Come to find out, that was, like, apparently, like, in advance on his, like, $15,000 or whatever. Which obviously I didn't know. And then he also went and got a job at fucking McDonald's after he already killed this lady. Why didn't you try the hustle first? Like, that irritated me so bad. I'm like, why did you even...
Why not get that first? Why? Because you could have made more money there.
And I was so mad because I was so proud of him for finally getting a job. Like, after 2.5 years or almost 3 years of us dating, like, you finally are getting a fucking job. Yeah. And I was so excited he was going to McDonald's, and, you know, his workers really loved him. Like, everybody liked him. And, like, I was just so proud of him in that moment. And he ended up getting arrested at that fucking McDonald's at work.
So when I found out, the way that most people found out, so we found out on graduation day, right? Like, we were lined up. I
gotta hit my neck for this because this is really the part that really threw me for a loop. Like, this is the part that's so fucking traumatizing for me personally. But you tell your story. I gotta hit this. I'm stressed.
When I found out, I hadn't talked to Malcolm and honestly, we weren't close in about 1.5 years. Like, I hadn't really spoken to him. Me and Tegan were kind of like not close at the time. We had gone through our own things separately, and we just kind of had been distant. And because of that, I obviously didn't speak to Malcolm. That'd be kind of weird if I was just like friends with Malcolm. And also, I had kind of distanced myself from Malcolm and a little bit from you, just because I had noticed his lack of empathy a little bit before any of this. Yeah. I felt like he was always kind of, like you said, being shysty, stealing and stuff like that. And while that was normalized in the place where we lived, it always felt like dirty to me. It's just not dirty like you're dirty, like, but like dirty made you feel like you needed a fucking shower. But I remember it was graduation day, and we were doing our lineup to like kind of
so basically
we were literally lined up to go get our diplomas. We weren't even I didn't find out.
Well,
my row didn't find out until we were literally about to go walk up. It wasn't for us.
No, it was
practice.
It was rehearsal.
I don't remember it being rehearsed. I remember it being
rehearsal.
Graduation, or maybe I found out late. But I feel like what I remember is, well, maybe it's all a blur because it was graduation.
And
for me.
And it wasn't like happening to you.
But I remember,
I'll say like what
I remember being. I had this guy that I've done a story time on him as well, but this guy. We'll name him Peter. He was behind me in every single year because we were both MA last names. So, and you know who I'm talking about, I'm assuming. So we were MA. So I was always behind him. We were in the same friend group. So we were like friends.
It took me like 30 seconds.
So out of nowhere, he's like, Emily, did you hear what happened? And I was like, no, what? Like, we're about to graduate. Like, whatever. I'm excited. Like, I'm in a good mood. And he's like, look. And then like, it felt like out of a movie. Like, it felt like everyone's phone dinged at the same time.
Yeah, because, yeah. Hold on. Sorry. Keep going. Well, because I'm just so excited to interject because, like, this shit, like, when I say, like, how you just said it felt like a movie.
It did.
It felt like somebody else. Like, it didn't even feel like it was me.
No.
At all. Like, it literally the whole time, I was like, there's no fucking way.
Well, it literally happened like it would in a movie. Like, everyone's phone went off.
Literally.
Like,
okay, so.
It went on Twitter.
Yes. So basically what happened, our senior class was like 350 kids. So we needed quite a few buses to get us from our high school to the local college so we could do our rehearsal in the morning. And then we were going to do our actual graduation in the afternoon, obviously. So let me start at the night before. The night before, I get a call from, I think, his sister. And she's like, Quam's been arrested. Quam and Devontae, like all this crazy shit. Like I couldn't even believe what I just heard. And they didn't know what was going on. Like they didn't know what he got arrested for. Like they didn't know anything. So it was like 10 at night almost. So I looked at my friend and I was like, you need to bring me to his house right now. Like I have to see his family and try to figure out what's going on, because what do you mean he just got arrested at his job? Like you don't just get arrested at your job. Like that's crazy. So I knew it was something serious, but I didn't know what. So I went over there, big ass waste of time because nobody knew what was going on. So I ended up leaving after like an hour and going home. And I was just literally just remember sitting in my bed like, I can't believe this. Like I literally cannot believe this right now. So in the morning early, like 6 a.m., he called me and I answered because it came up like blah, blah, blah county jail. Ah! So, and obviously.
Would you like to answer this collect call?
Yeah, from Guam. So I answer or whatever, and I'm like, hi, like, and he's like, I am so fucking sorry, like your graduation day, like I'm so sorry that I'm ruining it, like all this shit. And I was like, so I asked him,
sorry about that, dude.
So I asked him, what are you in there for? And he goes, you know. And I was like, no, I don't. But then back to the red flags thing, like that whole day I was flipping through my Rolodex in my brain, like, what did he mean by I know? And like
he said something that alluded to it.
Yes.
Prior.
And then I realized how much he had been trying to tell me that I wasn't catching on to. You know what I mean? That I was just like, what? Because one thing about him is he was a jokester. Like everybody, like if you asked somebody what do they think of him, the first thing that was going to come out of their mouth is like funny. Like everything single time. Like everything was a joke. It was like
too much was a joke almost.
Yeah. So I was used to him, you know, kind of pushing the boundaries of jokes. And so whatever, he had said I know. I didn't come like to any conclusion until I actually knew stuff later on. Then I was like, oh, he did that. And then I was able to think whatever. He was just like, again, so apologetic. And I was just like, dude, like I can't do anything to help you. Like I don't know what to do. Like I don't know what to do. Like I can't help. Like I was just in such a state of like I had no control over the situation. And like I said, my dad didn't really know about him. Like he knew about him, but he had never met him before. And like I wasn't comfortable going to my dad with like this information. So I just decided like I'm going to go to school.
How did he react once he found out what you'd been through?
Hold on. I will get to that because that's another big part of this day. Okay. This day is like a lot. So I end up going to school. And they have all the seniors in the fucking cafeteria waiting to get lined up in their alphabet or whatever. So this was before the tweet came out. Okay. So I had a little time to buy myself to do a little bit of damage control before all this happened. I found every single one of my friends and told them what was happening. Gave them a brief. Like, listen.
And yet they still acted shocked.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Everybody acted like, oh my God.
Tegan, is she okay?
Right. Yeah. Everybody did that to me. But I had given all my friends a heads up, like, yo, Quan went to jail, like, just so you know, like, everybody's probably going to be talking about it and, like, on my dick about it. Because in the phone call, he did end up telling me, like, what he did, like, what he was in there for. It was murder and conspiracy charges, which like, is not what he ended up being charged with.
Himself.
Yeah, which is not what he ended up, being charged with, but that's what his charges originally were. That's what they brought him in for.
That's what he did.
Anyway, it is what he did, but he got away. He pretty much got out of it pretty scot-free almost. Yeah. So then we finally got on the buses, right? And we're in all the way back and I'm in the inside seat because I am trying to isolate myself as much as freaking possible because I am just like so ashamed and just so embarrassed. Like I was just so embarrassed because like not only was he my boyfriend, we had been together for 3.5 fucking years. Like, I gave you my entire high school fucking, like, just for you to throw it away on my graduation day. Well, before that, but you know what I mean? Like, it just felt so, I felt so betrayed at the time. Like, I was just like, why? Like, why? Like, this is supposed to be the best day of my life, you bitch. So, we're on the bus, and I'll say the name to you. Pulled up the tweet, and I saw it over the seat. And I was like, let me see that. But I wasn't like trying to be like, oh, put it away. I just wanted to see because I hadn't seen it yet.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, just please let me see it. And he was like, no, what the fuck? Like, he had like this little bitch ass attitude about it. I'll never forget that though, because he was just so mean to me in that moment that like, it's like when I really needed somebody to just be like, here, look, you know what I mean? So whatever, I ended up going on Twitter on my own phone and finding it and seeing all 4 of their mugshots up. That's like the first thing you see. And like,
yeah, it was literally just their mugshot.
Yeah. So I literally was just like sitting there, like, I hadn't started crying yet because it just still didn't feel real.
Yeah.
But when it did start to feel real is when my dad called me.
Yeah.
He called me and he was like, why am I at breakfast right now and your so-called little boyfriend is on TV right now for conspiracy to murder, like da 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 da. And I was like, what do you, no, I don't know. Like, what the fuck? Like, I remember, like, you know, like, I kind of hope he never watches this, but if he does, like, he's just going to have to come to terms with, he was really mean to me on that day. Like, my dad did not handle that at all the way he should have. And when I got into the school finally, because he called me right when we got off the bus to go into the college. And I kind of cut the conversation short and I was like, Dad, I have to go in and like rehearse for graduation. Like, on the literal most traumatic day of my life, I have to go in and just push through it or whatever. So I go in and the vice principal walked up to me and she was like, I just heard what happened. Like, I'm so sorry, like all this stuff. And that's when I started crying. Because like an adult had not yet been kind to me.
Or empathetic.
Or about it. And it just made me cry. Like, and I just started crying. And I was like, I don't want to miss the rehearsal because I'm coming back later to graduate.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing that's going to stop me. I was like, so I have to see the rehearsal so I know what I'm supposed to do. So don't come and I'm already a spectacle. I don't want to fuck up on stage. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? And I was going to graduate, like, period. I was going to do it because it's like, bitch, you're not going to take this day away from me. Mm-hmm. So we ended up standing up my 2 best friends at the time, I think you know who, like, ran up to me crying after I had already told them what happened. Like, they were not this emotional. They came up to me like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm like, bro, whatever. So me and Derek ended up going to like one of the top like rows of like the auditorium so I could watch everybody rehearse and everything like that. And, you know, I didn't really know a lot about the legal system. So like for me, like it almost like it wasn't real yet. It was almost like he could still get out almost. Like, I don't know. And it's not even that I really wanted him to, but like part of me kind of hoped he would because like he was my first love. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like, unfortunately, I still felt that way even though he had done that. Mm-hmm. I was disgusted by him, but I don't know. It's like when you just think like, you know, somebody and like, oh my God, I don't know. Like, I just still kind of had hope. My sister came to pick me up. And she told me, she was like, that's like capital murder. Like, yeah, he could get 25 to life. Like, you probably are not. He should
have gotten 25 to life.
Right, he should have. But she was like, you're probably never going to see him again. Like, you kind of have to accept that right now. Like, right this second. And I remember when she said that. Well, when she said that to me, I remember that's really when my heart, like, dropped through my ass. Like, and in that moment, it felt like he died.
Yeah.
Like, it felt like my boyfriend died. Somebody I'd been with 3.5 years, lost my virginity to, first kiss, everything had literally just died on me. Like, just died. And for a few weeks after that, I continued to talk to him on the phone because I just couldn't feel like he died too. You know? Like, yeah. I just couldn't feel like you did this awful thing and then you also are gone. Like, I don't know. It was just so, like, not something I could process, like you being ripped away from me like that. And I remember my dad screaming at me till he's blue in the face, like, why would you still talk to him? Like, basically that I was like in the wrong, but I was kind of a victim a little bit. I felt like looking back, if my daughter had been going through that. But my sister brought me home and then my dad wouldn't let anybody come to the house to comfort me, and he went back to work, so I had to sit in the house for 5 hours by myself until graduation. And I got myself ready, put on my cap and gown, went and graduated.
I think the biggest thing that was weird because I kind of knew your dad's fear of what you were doing in that dating situation. Yeah. And I knew that my first thought was, wow, he's going to think he was so right kind of thing. Like,
I know, and that irritated me so bad because, like, if not for that, like, everything else, like, he's a nice kid. He was good to me. Like,
until he wasn't. And I think that the biggest thing that is, like, the takeaway from it is, like, you really never know a person or what they're capable of. And it also makes me think about, like, is someone redeemable or rehabilitatable in the situation where they've done something so morally off? And I feel like they were young. Obviously, their frontal lobe wasn't developed. No. Do you feel like in that situation, someone who's done something that's so not morally sound, do you feel that they're rehabilitatable or redeemable? Do you feel that if he were to get out, you could feel comfortable with him being on the streets?
I feel like he is not redeemable necessarily. I do feel like he probably wouldn't do it again. Like,
no,
I don't think he'd do it again.
I think he'd be more squared of the consequence than the moral dilemma of it.
Exactly. He'd be more scared of going to jail than taking somebody's life away, for sure.
Yeah.
For Quam, I can say, for Devontae, from what I heard from both of their mouths after speaking to them after the arrest and everything like that, he didn't want to. Once he got there, he didn't want to do it anymore. And so I feel like in that sense, he probably, I would never worry about that. Like, I wouldn't think he would do it ever coming again. Back. Like, honestly, it actually really makes me sad that Devontae got more time than Quam. He got 25.
I think that's what's so weird is that Devontae got life, and
but that's
Quam
because
has the option of getting out.
Ugh, look at Pepper.
Oh, no.
That's because I literally can't even look over there. That's because when they got arrested, Quam, he was singing to the police. Like, he
pizza and water.
He literally was, he literally was like putting on a performance. He literally stood up and put on the performance. You can see it in the snap. Like, they have the interview video where he's literally like, oh yeah,
acting it out.
I went like this, and then she went like this, and then whatever.
All for a piece of pizza and a glass of water.
And Devontae, well, no, not even. It's just so that he could get less time. Like, it wasn't even for, I mean, yes, he did get that, but he was going to do that regardless.
Well, yeah, for the time. And I think that they definitely, I heard they like coerced him with some water and some pizza.
Well, it's probably just for DNA, but.
Also, and like, he's 17. Like,
and then,
of course that's
and then
work.
Devontae, he lawyered up right away. So because
that's what it is.
Because of that, Pepper just farted, I think. Because of that, Devontae ended up getting 25 to life, and Quam actually only got 11 years for robbery for the credit cards.
Wow.
So murder isn't even on his record, like, at all.
How the hell?
Because he gave so much information.
But I just hate that that's how the justice system works. I hate that that's how the justice system works is, okay, I ratted, but I was the one with the malintent. And he was the one who
actually murdered her. And he got least time out of everybody.
Yeah, and then here goes Devontae, who you can, even just by speaking to him, he's redeemable. He's
he just didn't
rehabilitatable.
want to. He literally just did not want to snitch on Quam. And he thought Quam would do the same. But that's not what happened, and it bit Devontae in the ass. If Devontae had started talking first, Quam would have 25 I do want to put it out there,
neither of them, I know there's going to be like, why are you empathizing with a murderer, with conspired murderers? Here's the thing. I think that the biggest thing is when you've known someone since you were children, and you can kind of, you know someone at a different level when you've known them since they're kids. Their intent, the way they move, their mannerisms, you know them. When you know Devontae, he had this genuine kindness about him that made it so much more shocking.
But he was loyal to a fault.
That's like what it was.
His loyalty bit him in the ass.
Like a fucking pit bull. Like straight up, like would bite someone's face off at the sake of his own friends.
Right.
And shoot himself in the foot over it.
And he is just as wrong because he could have saved the lady and he didn't. Like, he could have knocked Quam over the head and drug him out the house and been like, we're not doing this. You know what I mean? Something. But he didn't have a gun to his head. Like, he didn't. But
he kept it going.
So, I don't know. I feel like it's all that. But I did end up going to graduate. And we did end up, like I said, still talking for a few weeks. And he got out on bail, and he was out for a few months, and then he was finally locked up. So he won't be getting out until
2030, I think
2028 or something like that. Not that I'm worried about it or anything like that.
Well, that was my next question. I wanted to know, like, you have a child now and you're in a happy relationship, like you're comfortable and you've grown through that. Do you fear the idea of him getting out? Does that put any type of fear in you?
As crazy as it sounds, I think that he'd be happy for me.
I think he would too.
Like, I don't think that he would be like, I'm gonna kill this bitch now because she's happy. Like, I think he has let it go probably a long time ago. I remember him basically asking me if I was gonna wait for him, and I was like, no, I'm 17. I'm not gonna wait 11 years for you to. No,
I'm 30.
I'm too young. But I feel like I don't know. I mean, I'm glad we stopped talking. I'm glad that we are like obviously not together.
Yeah.
But like obviously I do think about him sometimes. Like I always kind of think to myself like I hope he's okay in there. I know that's sad. Like, you know, everybody should be like, fuck him. Like he killed
someone, you hate him.
He killed somebody, whatever, da 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 da. But
when you know
just
someone,
imagine
your
if
kid.
it was somebody that you knew. Like, I don't know. I just feel like it's very human emotions are complicated. Like, you know, I really like. I just obviously hope he's not being like tortured or anything in there, like whatever the case may be. But he definitely needed to learn that his actions have consequences, though. That was like a big thing because he was his mom's only son. Like he was living life with no consequence, like
I think
none. He was allowed to do anything he wanted at his house. That's how he was able to cheat on me so much because girls were able to come in his house all the time. Like
I think that's what's so weird about it is because like when you think cookie cutter, your boyfriend murdered someone, how should you feel? People are going to assume like you should hate him, you should feel betrayed. But I think the bigger thing is like I think every circumstance is different. Like it's not like he was out murdering people out of pure enjoyment of the feeling of killing. It was feeling pushed
something
into a corner.
in his little fucked up brain told him this is the only way I'm going to be able to make money.
Exist.
And the crazy thing about that
which is still fucked. It is still fucked.
I remember one of the last phone calls we ever had, because this was like kind of my breaking point for me, is when he tried to blame it on me. Like he literally called me and was like, if you hadn't been telling me I was broke all the time and like making me feel like I'm a bum, like I would have never tried to do something for that much money. All I wanted you to do was get a fucking part-time job. I didn't want you to go kill somebody. Like, and he really tried to put that on me. And then he also, going back to your question about if, you know, more specifically, I guess Quam can be redeemed. One of the reasons I'm going to say no is because even after the arrest, after like he was like fully in jail, he was still trying to manipulate like me and obviously my family, like into believing he was innocent. Like he literally tried to write my dad a letter. He wrote it out to Mr. my last name. And in the letter, because thank God I decided to check the fucking mail that day, by the way. Like literally I had intercepted the mail. Like something just told me to check the mail that day. So I did, and I was able to get this letter before my dad did. So he's never seen it. But he was like, the only reason I did it is because they said if I didn't do it, they were going to kill my little sister, and like all this stuff that I knew wasn't fucking true. And then on top of that, you don't even like your little sisters that much. So that would be like, I don't know. It just was like, that didn't like, why are you still lying?
Because
like,
he knows that they're checking the mail. So maybe if they think in his personal thoughts, he's admitting something to you. I think that in that 17-year-old brain.
But for you to write it to my dad was just so disrespectful and odd to me. Like to write it out to like Mr. Like, I don't know. It was just so like.
And like he doesn't even know you.
Icky. Like it was icky. Like when I read it, I was like, ugh, like this isn't even what happened. Like.
And like he didn't even know your father.
No, literally. They had never met before. Like it had been years of him actively avoiding my dad. You know what I mean? So it's like for you to try to win cool points with him, like I just like really, really irritated me, honestly.
My biggest thing watching the whole thing unfold was, so when I was at graduation, it did feel like a movie, going back to that, and it felt like everyone found out in the same moment, like you'd see in a movie where like phones ding 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 ding, and then everyone's like kind of staring at their phone and then looking around. That's literally how it felt. And I had someone behind me that I'd been behind me like every year since we were in third grade. We were always next to each other because we had MA, and he said to me, check your phone. And I was like, what? And he obviously knew that me and Tegan had been friends prior because we had gone to his house to hang out with him before. And I mean, he was ultimately, this guy cared about me, cared about Tegan, cared about a lot of people, but he just happened to be a scum fucking fart. But he did care about us, and he was just kind of like, check your phone, go on Twitter. I had the notification too, and it was odd. It was like 13 Wham News like sent it out to like high schoolers. It was like,
literally felt like, how the fuck is everybody following 13 Wham News all of a sudden?
Because they send out your local news station apparently started sending out tweets to like every phone.
But I didn't even get it.
On.
I never had notifications on, so that's probably why.
I got it, and I remember being like, it said 4 arrested for a conspired murder of a local mother. And I was like, Gypsy Rose? Like, what? Like,
Yeah.
Gypsy Rose Blanchard? And I'm like, what the fuck? So I open it, and it's literally just their mugshots. And they're the first 2 mugshots. It was like Knowledge, Maquam, Devontae, then the girl. And I was like, literally, I don't know how to explain it, but like every memory I've ever had of Malquam and Devontae just kind of like flashed in my brain, like going to like go play basketball with them and like hanging out with them at their grandparents, like just like going to hang out with them with you, and like standing in the snow with Malquam and him have like no jacket on because he was like poor, and like just like all these like memories of like empathizing with them and caring about them. And then immediately I was like, oh my fucking God, is Tegan okay? And it literally felt like something out of a movie. I'm like, in my brain, like, I hope Tegan is okay. Like, holy shit, she's here right now. Everyone we've ever gone to school with is here right now, and their parents and everyone they care about is here, and like past people that knew him, and future people that will graduate are there. Like,
and I was so grateful. There was this kid who sat right next to me, and I could tell, like, obviously he wanted to talk about it. Like, obviously he wanted to talk. Everybody wanted to talk about it. Everybody wanted to know. Thankfully everybody was really respectful of me on that day though. Like nobody was coming up to me like, oh my God, like everybody let me have my graduation, which was cool.
Yeah.
I mostly got like questions about it like the next day.
So, like the next day
it was free range. But and I had a couple people call me and stuff like that and be like, yo, are you good? Like whatever. Like it was just so crazy. Like the way it really felt like a movie. I think that's why it still doesn't feel like it even happened to me. Like with a lot of my like traumas, I do this fun thing where I just remove myself completely and just act like I'm watching it from a third person point of view, kind of. So that's literally how it feels. Like it literally feels like a movie I watched one time. Wow, that's so crazy that happened to that girl. Hope she's good. Like literally. So, but after like once like everything really settled in, I didn't eat for like 2 months. I went through a whole stage. I was just trying to find like anything to make me feel better. Like I was smoking so much. Like it was just like every freaking toxic thing that you could do to yourself, I was doing, like, because I just was so sad. And I just felt so like I didn't really know myself, especially because I was still a teenager. I didn't know myself as a teenager without him. So like I literally was like, what do I even like? Like, what do I do? Like, you know what I mean? And I think that I feel like now that I have a daughter, I'm going to tell her, like, do not get in a relationship in high school. Like, not that serious. Because you lose yourself. Because that's the time where you're supposed to find yourself. And if you're in a relationship, a lot of the times, that's just not going to be the outcome. Like,
so you were with him when you were young, and then after he did what he did, I feel like you didn't take much time before you moved into the next thing. Like, how do you think that affected you in your next relationship?
I am so mad at myself still to this day, because this happened June like 23rd of 2017. He got arrested, graduation day, all that. By Valentine's Day of 2018, I was in another relationship. I should have never did that to myself, but I just wanted somebody to make me feel like loved again, I guess, because I wasn't really receiving a lot of that. Male validation was like huge for me during that period of my life. And also this boy hadn't gone to our school, because I tried to talk to other boys that had went to our school like during that time, because obviously they were the only ones I knew. And I remember I was talking to this one, and literally Kwam got out on bail, and he texted me like within an hour of it happening and was like, I don't want to talk anymore because like Kwam's out. I'm like, well, you're a pussy anyway.
Wow. So like people were like scared to talk to you.
Yes, literally scared to talk to me, or just wanted to talk to me to like kind of get the tea, or would try to talk to me by telling me all the shady shit that he had done to me behind my back, like in high school, that they knew about and never told me about.
It's and like, why would I trust you?
And then that would immediately make me not talk to them anymore, because it's like, if you didn't respect me enough to tell me when it happened, you don't respect me.
You don't
now.
truly
There's
respect
no
me
way.
at all. Yeah.
So then the next boy that I started dating, he was super fucking, he was so manipulative. He was so abusive. And it was just so many things that I didn't even notice, like, that I'm so mad at myself about. Like, I know I was only 18, but it's like, Tegan, what the fuck? Like, you're such an idiot. Like, why didn't you just give yourself the time to heal?
Yeah.
Like, why didn't you just like, let yourself be alone. You
Did
know what
he
I
know
mean?
about what happened? Your next boyfriend.
He didn't know, like, no. I mean, yes, I think he had heard it probably, but he didn't realize like my connection to it until like we were dating for a little while, and
You told him?
yeah, and we talked about it or whatever. But like, because he asked me like, have you ever been in a relationship kind of thing? Like, and
You're
I was
like, little do you know.
yeah, I have. It didn't turn out that great. But I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I just did not give myself enough grace, like, and I feel like I really should have. Like, I didn't eat for 2 months. Like I said, I went through a hoe stage. I got in another relationship. Like, at this time, like, my dad had just moved across the country. I was living in somebody's basement. Like, it was just so fucking much. Like,
All at once.
And like, I'll just never forget the feeling of just feeling so isolated. Like, I would be surrounding myself with people and still feeling so isolated, because I'm like, you guys don't even know what it feels like for your boyfriend to basically die. Like,
And it's
I'm
like an elephant in the room, I think.
it's like, right. And it's like, you know that meme that's like, it's like everybody at the party and the guy standing in the corner and he's like, they don't even know that I'm depressed right now. Like, basically, that's literally how I used to feel. Like, I used to be like, damn, like, you don't even know I'm trying to heal my trauma right now. But like, doing a very bad job of it.
I feel like the thing that I noticed was like, before it happened, people obviously had no problem talking to you and being like normal with you. And I think I felt this even a little bit when I first started hanging out with you again. It was almost like an elephant in the room of like, do I bring it up and just see if she's good, or will that bother her more if I even bring it up? Because it's like, I don't want to trigger something for her that is obviously traumatizing. For me, it was like, there's no doubt in my mind. I know Tegan. I know how she copes. There's no doubt in my mind that this is fucking with her. But if I bring it up, is she going to be open enough to say, yes, it's fucking with me? Or is she going to be frustrated that it's even brought up at all? And I feel like people may have felt that way as well.
I feel like by the time that you and I started seeing each other again, I probably would have been fine with you bringing it up. But like, it wasn't something I felt like you had to bring up.
No.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like, oh, she didn't even ask me about it. You know what I mean? I don't care about that. Now though, when people bring it up, it only bothers me if they say something like obvious. If that makes sense. Like, I don't know. Like, they'll be like, oh, I can't believe he did that. Like, that was so fucked up. Like, why did you bring it up just to say that? You know what I mean?
Guilty, bro. Like, he's in jail.
Like, okay. But I don't know. Like, now it's like this. Like, I feel like you guys have seen in even the first 4 episodes that I'm usually not so like, glitching every 2 seconds.
But it's dramatic.
It's just like, I didn't kind of realize how like much it still affects me to this day. Kind of. I don't know. I feel like I'm always prepared for the absolute fucking worst thing ever possible to happen to me. And I feel like it has caused me to have a lot of anxiety in my new relationship, but not in like a trust way, but like if he leaves the house, is he gonna like die way? Right. Like, I get like when he goes to work in the morning, like, I'm like worried about it until he gets there and texts me that he's
and
okay.
I think you probably coped with it the same way you would have coped with a death.
Like,
and so you have almost abandonment problems probably because of it.
Oh yeah, badly. Like, and it's just like, I don't know, and it's just so weird, like, knowing firsthand how much you can know somebody and not know them at the same time.
At all.
Like, obviously, everybody has their own brain and thoughts that they don't share with other people, which is obvious now, but, like, at 14, 15, when we first started being together, I felt like we were sharing everything.
Forever.
Like, we were sharing everything, bitch. We basically got the same brain. But it's like, that's just not the case. Like, it's just crazy how you can really not know somebody that you've given so much to.
Besides knowing now that you don't ever really know someone, what do you think? Like, what are 3 things you think that it taught you as a person and what to look out for in relationships?
I think as a person, it really taught me. I mean, it didn't really teach me anything uplifting.
Not everything has some great silver lining behind it.
No, it really taught me.
Maybe it taught you that.
Basically, and it taught me that things that are out of your control are just out of your control.
Yeah.
Like, there's no getting it back into your control sometimes. You know what I mean? And you have to be able to kind of just deal with that.
I think that's a lesson everyone needs to learn.
Also, to be kinder to myself when I'm trying to heal from something. I was able, like, after I really went through like the stages of like smoking a lot, drinking a lot, like hoeing around doing all that stuff, I was able to think like, that's not making it was I'm glad I went through it young so that I'm not like 25 drinking every day wondering why it's not helping.
Why it's happening.
You know what I mean? And it's like, or smoking every day wondering why is this not helping me? I know why it doesn't help, because it doesn't fucking work. Like, right. Because you're still in your reality, no matter how much you try to remove yourself from it. So I feel like, I don't know, but I feel like there's also a lot of like trauma responses I have now that I didn't have before. Like,
but I almost feel like even with what you just said, you're not giving yourself enough grace, because the things you've said already are like things that you've learned that are really important to learn. And
yeah,
like
that's true.
You can even look at it now and say like, I should have been kinder to myself. And like, people don't learn that their whole lives. People die not being
right.
kind to
And
themselves.
obviously I didn't like just that day, like that.
No, it
start
took
being
years.
kind to myself. Like I still am not the kindest to myself. No. I'm way more kind to myself. And I don't know. I feel like at the end of the day, like, as sad as it is, you yourself is all you have. And like, I know that's obvious, and I'm making it sound like so profound right now, but to learn that at such a ripe little age, like, damn,
it's important.
Nobody was fucking there for me. Like, holy shit, bro.
But
like,
I think if
like,
even
my
Devontae
dad
knew that, like, even
right,
if Devontae had known that, maybe he wouldn't have done that. Like, that's
right.
a lesson that is more profound than it comes across.
Right. Like, you really only have yourself. Like, you're it. Like, bro, if everybody around you dies, you're it. Like, you're it.
I think
Tag, bitch.
I think like the underlying
know,
theme is like everyone cared about everyone to their own fault. Like, and it ended up being the demise of it all. Like,
right. I overlooked things that I shouldn't have. You know, I wish that I could. I mean, I wouldn't have saved anybody, but you know, like,
you could have saved yourself potentially if you had like addressed it sooner.
Oh yeah.
But I think that you had to go through that. Like, I know,
and it's
as that sounds,
it's so unfortunate how every trauma I've been through, I've been like, yeah, I kind of needed that.
I had to go through that.
Yeah, like, not I needed it, but right, I had to go through it. Like, it did lead me to something else. It kind of led me to another negative, but like that negative led me to a positive. Like, that led me to my boyfriend now, led me to my baby, like, everything led me to this. So I'm thankful for it all, but I'm like, I grew up, like, because I had to grow up fast already as a kid, you know what I mean? But that really made me be like, holy shit, like, real shit happens, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Literally. Like, it could have happened to anybody. Like, it's the same when you watch like a murder documentary and they're like, nobody locked their doors because that doesn't happen around here. It's like, right, this happens to other people. I feel like that's another reason I separate myself. Like, this is something that happens to other people. Like, what the fuck? Yeah. Like, it's still even now, like,
feels like a movie. Like, feels like it wasn't you.
I can see it in my brain, but it's just like so weird. Like, I don't know. It's just so weird.
I think the weirdest part was when I found out about what happened, my first thought was wondering if you were okay, because I don't empathize with him because he did what he did. Yeah. I don't really empathize with Devontae in a lot of ways, because like, you could have stopped what you did and you could have not done that. But my first instinct was to empathize with you, because it's like, Tegan didn't fucking know, and all she did was care about these people. Yeah. And if she needed money, she would have been like, here's fucking $20. Don't go kill someone for it. Like, what the fuck?
Oh my God.
And that was my first thought.
I was already buying all our weed. I was putting gas in his mom's van. I was making sure, like, because I had a job since I was 14. Like,
and you guys were kids. Like, you didn't even need money for much. Like, you were like children.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, dang, can we just go get some Dairy Queen every once in a while? Like, holy fuck. I just want a pizza. Like,
even if like he just stole her credit cards. Just steal a credit. I mean, that's still fucked. But just do that and just leave the house and be like, sorry, not doing that anymore. Peace out.
It made no sense to me. Like, literally.
I think my biggest thing with it was I'm the type of person where when someone is mourning or something happens, I deflect it, and I don't want to feel like it's about me at all. Like, I don't want to feel like this death is something I get to mourn. I have no right to feel sad. Malcolm was my friend growing up, but we hadn't talked. So that wasn't my like, my friend killed them. Why would I be sad about that? I was sad about my friend whose boyfriend killed someone. So yeah, I never really feel like I'm allowed to mourn something. I mean, I guess in theory, like, everyone was affected. We all knew him. Like, that's probably something weird for everyone to go through. You grew up with this kid, to find out he's a murderer and you cared about him. You let him in your home. That's odd. For me, it was almost like I saw him going down a path that was bad. I saw the potential in what he could do, because I felt that he lacked empathy in a million different ways. There was always suspicion that he was a cheater. There was always suspicion that he was a fucking thief. And I just remember being like, as terrible as this is, I'm not as shocked as I am about Devontae.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, me either.
But I was like, where's Tegan? Is she okay? But I also was like, I can't go bombard her because I know that a million people are probably going to go bombard her. Mm-hmm. So, and I remember hearing like, Emily was acting like it was about her. Like, Emily like was so sad. In what fucking world? Because my coping mechanism is to pretend like I have no right to be sad. And I do that with every loss I've ever had. Mm-hmm. And like any situation that I've ever been in. Well, and to be frank, I knew him since I was 12.
Right. Like, and it was funny because when I was told about the situation, the person was basically like, yeah, all Emily wanted to say was that her mom is going to be so upset and da-da-da. But like, I was obviously trying to get a reaction out of me about
my
that.
My mom like loved him.
And I literally looked at that person. I was like, yeah, because her mom literally like took him in when he was younger. Like, of course she's going to be upset. That's valid for her to say.
I literally.
You know, she wanted me to be like, oh my God, I can't believe she'd make it about her. I didn't think so. Her
fucking mother was like.
I didn't think so. I felt bad for everybody in the situation. Like, I felt bad for Jarrett. I felt bad for his mom.
I felt really bad for Jarrett as well. Like, I was really worried about Jarrett and his mom. I was really worried about you. And the main thing was like, Jarrett's mom, we've talked about Jarrett a lot. His mom was my mom's best friend for a long time. And his mom let Malcolm live with them, basically. I mean, not even basically, like genuinely.
No, literally. And
we were neighbors. So like when the boys didn't have someone at home, or like Jessica wasn't making dinner that night, my mom was making dinner. We were all eating together. We grew up fucking poor. Yeah. And like it takes a community to raise kids. Yeah. And we were the community. And it's different, I guess, maybe if you grew up in a town where everyone's fucking got money. But if you're poor, you get to know these kids. You know them on a different level. You're feeding them. You're letting them sleep in your house. You're letting them come over when they need somewhere and someone to vent to. Like, and I think more so than me, my mom was like, oh my God. Like, oh yeah, that was like our community son. Mm-hmm. Like that would be the same way you'd feel if Jarrett had done it. Cause it's like, oh yeah, that's our community kid. Yeah. And so it was weird for the parents cause they didn't really see him going down that path. They got the best of him always.
Oh yeah. And really, so did I. Like, I know his friends probably knew how shiesty he really was, which is crazy. How could you be loyal to somebody who's so shiesty? But I don't know. I just personally, I feel like if he could take it back, he probably would.
I think he would too.
But at the same time,
but would he do it because he wouldn't have ever done it, or would he do it because he hates the repercussions of what he did?
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I think he really just hates that he went to jail for it.
Yeah.
Like
but I think Devontae hates that he did it. And I think that he faced that.
The other thing too, Devontae had a daughter on the way, like literally like
as it happened.
As when it happened. And like she was still on the way when he got locked up. So like he wasn't even there for his daughter to be born, anything. And I remember Kwam telling like the police and shit like that, like whoever he was talking to, that Devontae deserved more time because Devontae didn't have a family. Devontae was adopted.
That's so fucked.
And that Kwam had a family, so he felt like he shouldn't have to go to jail for as long.
But the thing is, he has a child that's never going to get to meet him. Yeah, well, get to meet him, but never get to know him.
Yeah, but but that really goes to show like where the empathy was nowhere.
Lacking.
Because how could you ever feel like even your sister is more important than somebody's daughter?
No.
I don't think so.
And like his sister was shiesty too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So
and I just feel like
she got fired from a Dunkin' for picking her nose.
I feel like it is sad to watch them have gone down that path, and I think that's the biggest thing. It's not like I wanted to interview you or like have you talk about this to be like, this is the worst thing to ever happen. My boyfriend was a murderer and he's a murderer and here's about the murder. I think my biggest concern and the biggest thing I wanted to tap into is like the aftermath, the effects of what it's like, and like how confusing the human brain is to still love someone after they've done something like that. Because I think you see in movies a cut and dry, I don't love him anymore, he's not who I knew he was. That's not how the fuck it works.
No, and obviously I had like the clarity, at least at that age, to not be dating him.
Yeah,
I did still speak to him, but like I made it very clear like we are not together at this point. Like,
when was the last time you spoke to him? Like when he was on bail, did you see him?
Almost. I actually did see him one time. Well, I saw him one time on purpose and one time on accident. I saw him at Jared's house one time on purpose, because we just had to have like one last conversation. But that didn't turn out into anything. Like it wasn't like we did anything or anything. Like it literally, we were sitting in the garage and I literally asked him like, "What the fuck?
What's wrong?
Why?" And I asked him why he cheated on me, like all types of stuff. Like I asked him a lot of questions. I didn't get too much, like I didn't want to like, know. I didn't want to know too much.
That's a thing too, with juggling. How much do I even want to know?
Right. I didn't want to know too much. I just wanted to know like kind of where his head was at. And even in that moment, he didn't really seem sorry. So, but, and like when it came to like me asking if he cheated on me, he kind of was just like, well, we didn't really see each other that much. So like,
it's like, what world were you living in?
And it's like, and it's also like, dang, like I get you're a teenage boy, but like, I don't know, just because we don't see each other doesn't mean you have to fuck everybody. Like, I don't know. No. It's just kind of crazy.
But my thing with that is like, that's a lack of empathy. And I know that doesn't seem like a red flag.
Cheating is a huge red flag for lack of empathy.
Yeah, it is.
Because you were the person I lost my virginity to. We never used condoms because I was young and dumb. But we never used condoms. Like, I was trusting that you weren't.
You were respecting
You know
my
what
health.
I mean? You were respecting my health and my body. Like, and you were not. And that just...
So Tegan actually has some pieces of some letters sent to her from the prison itself. I feel like this is almost like evidence. I don't know how to explain.
From behind
like,
bars.
It almost feels like I have like a inside scoop right now.
You do. You're kind of getting the exclusive, like more than a lot of people have gotten.
So she's gonna actually read some of those letters off right now.
Yeah,
which I've never heard these or read them or anything, which is kind of insane.
This is actually from Devante. It's like 4 pages long, so I don't know if you guys want me to read the whole thing.
Maybe read like just a little, the preface, the beginning prologue.
All right, so he wrote on the top his girlfriend's name, his baby mom. Please make sure she reads this however you do it. Please write this as a message and send it to her. Everything, commas, exclamation points on Facebook. Like all this stuff, like Allah protect you, whatever. Then, because all of a sudden he was Muslim when he went to jail.
What?
Him and Kwon both like converted. Like, it was so weird.
That is an important piece of information you never told me.
Says T. What can I say? I miss you a lot, sis. A lot. Yes, I neglected to tell you about Malcolm's extra relational excursions. For the same reason I would have punched somebody in the face for talking shit about him. I thought we were brothers. I thought he was my brody, my homie, my scony.
Writer.
I'm literally reading this on like
he's
this
a writer,
like handwritten. Like,
it's crazy because I remember him literally writing essays in school. Like, would get 100 on every essay. He's just so fucking smart.
Imagine my surprise when I saw those words on that paper. I wasted $30 on the phone crying to his baby mom. To say that I was hurt is a massive understatement. My loyalty ran so deep for him, I would have died for him. You know that as well I do. And what does he do? He vigorously and unashamedly points his finger at me when all he had to do was ask for a lawyer. So that's what he's talking about. So he goes into like being pissed that Kwam testified against him, like, or that he's gonna testify against him. This is juicy. Kwam writes Devante a letter while they're in jail, a little kite, saying that he thinks his mother would respect me way more if I took the charges by myself, and also saying that he has a family and he just wants to see them. So now, after telling the investigators it was all me, he says that just because I don't have a family, I should be incarcerated for the rest of my life, and he shouldn't. Which is exactly, that corroborates what I said earlier.
Me have chills down my body.
He says that if I never made him do it, he would have never got involved. And he said he didn't give a fuck about me, not a single fuck. I spent so much time and energy being his ride or die, and he was trying to pin me on a murder one. Just because I don't have a mom or a dad, I shouldn't be able to hug my baby outside the walls until she's 35. And he actually wrote he or she because he didn't know the gender. That's how early he was locked up. Like, he didn't even know the gender yet. Telling other inmates, don't tell him, bro. I'm about to see if I can get 5 to 7 if I testify. Fuck all that. My right hand man, we was Clyde and Clyde. I was so hurt, see. And then he said he had the audacity after he saw me crying on the phone to tell me to keep my head up. Like, walked by Devante and was like, keep your head up. Knowing he was going to go testify and get less time than Devante. Like,
what?
This shit is shicey. I should have read this at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah,
I'm not just talking shit. I want you to take a look at yourself and what you want in life because I love you. He's been cheating on you since 9th grade.
He's literally like, snitching.
Tell all. He's like, oh, you want to snitch on me? I'm telling your bitch everything.
He's like, Sammy, I caught Ron in the living room with the girl.
And it's handwritten 4 pages. This is the last page. My girl deserves infinitely better than me. And then he said, but Tegan Rose, last name, please think. You're lucky you didn't get an STD in all reality. These are all things I wanted to tell you for a while. It's just a good opportunity. You can get anybody you want, period. Let's be honest, sister. dudes from his pod are telling me he don't brush his teeth, which he didn't ever. He said, go to college, get some dick, fall in love, live a normal life. I'm sorry you and blank got dragged into this. I'm so sorry from the bottom of my heart. Write me, please. Visits are welcome also. Read this and reread it again. I meant everything I said. There's not one lie here. I love you, sis. Keep your head up. Salam, Devontae. So that was kind of a lot. I haven't read that in a really long time.
When's the last time you wrote Devontae?
I've never wrote Devontae. I haven't wrote him or Quam. But I have, like, reached out to his baby mom and asked him how he was doing and stuff like that. I asked, did he know that I had a baby? And she said, yeah, she told him, and that he's really happy for me. But I don't know. It just feels like I don't really want to reach out to him because it's just, like, I don't really even know what I would say at this point. Like, I'm older now. Like, I want to make it very clear that we're not making excuses.
No.
Like, there's not an excuse in the fucking world that can justify what they did and why they did it. Doesn't make sense. Stupid. But I do know that they both had really rough fucking lives beforehand. I feel like this is what you always hear about killers. They have really rough lives. So be nice to your children. Like, no, literally be nice to your children. Take care of your kids. Because
put them in therapy if they're giving warning signs.
Well, right. And I just feel like, you know, even with Quam, like, his mom was always working 3 jobs. She had 5 kids. So, like, he wasn't getting any fucking attention. Like,
she wasn't a very,
you know, I'm not going to be too disrespectful, but, like, it's not like their house was always dirty. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
she wasn't very warm. She let him do whatever the fuck he wanted.
Yeah. Like, there was no love in that home, like, at all. Which I feel like part of the not having empathy thing. Because nobody really did in that house. And Devontae just went through a lot. Like, just, he was in the foster care system, and then they were with that couple. Him and Derek were in that couple, or with that couple, and that couple threw them out. So that's why Devontae started living with Quam, which led to all this stuff. Like, it's just so sad. Like, he basically just never got, like, adopted, and that's why. Yeah, but I feel like, just as, like, some closing comments, again, no excuses. Like, we're not making any excuses.
No.
This is just, like, my perspective of what happened and everything that I felt and went through. Grief is really weird because it was definitely grief that I went through.
Mourning.
Yeah, I definitely mourned a big part of myself. I mourned him. Like, I mourned everything. And I don't know. It's still weird even to this day knowing that, like, he's out there, but he's in jail. Like, he's literally living his existence in jail right now. It's just weird to think about. But all in all, like, no disrespect to the family. I'm going to say her name again. Rest in peace, Julie Martin, the victim of this crime. And I'm so sorry this happened to you.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry that it was your own fucking kid that really, like,
and to anyone that cares about her, anyone out there that worked with her, that lived with her, or, like, knew her, because I'm sure people are going to pass this around. This is something that is very close to home, and people are going to be like, these girls are talking about it, what do they have to say? The respect and, like, compassion we feel for the people that were affected by this is insane, because we were also some of the people that were affected by it.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
And we were on the other end. We didn't lose someone, but in a way we did. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
we lost our perspective of who we thought these people were that we cared about. And that's hard. That is hard. Something, and Tegan, more than anyone else, who loved the person that was primarily responsible.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that people haven't taken into account. And that's why I really wanted to bring you on here and talk to you just about that. Like, yeah, we can have guests, but I feel like we're the most interesting people in the world. And also, it is literally something that I don't feel people pay enough attention to with you. It's, and I feel like you were a part of his life, like, heavy.
And it's also one of those things where you can't really tell me how to feel because you don't know what it feels like. It's like one of those things where, like, you know, when you hear a 911 call and somebody's like, oh, they're too calm, but, like, you would never know how you're gonna act in that situation that you've never been in. So as much as you guys may understand my feelings or not understand them, that's just what I went through. That's how I felt. So kind of regardless of what you think,
I don't give
that's
a fuck.
what pretty much, like, I mean, kind of, if you have anything to say that, like, goes against what I felt, just keep it to yourself, because
you don't know how you'd feel.
And the feelings were already felt. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I can't change it.
What do you want me to do now? Like, I'm already here. So, yeah, just, guys, please be fucking kind.
But yeah, that, I think that really just about does it. I think we've talked about it a lot, and I'm proud of you for getting through that. I'm proud of you for growing because of it and, like, becoming the person you are today. Like, I know you said that you feel like you didn't not everything needs to happen for a reason, and that's true. Not everything has some crazy silver lining, but like you literally wouldn't be the person you are today if it hadn't happened, and I'm proud of you.
Unfortunately, I would not be.
If you guys wanted a sillier episode, last week's episode is silly. This week is a little bit more trauma.
Yeah, but I'm glad we got.
But next week we'll be silly again, and then maybe we'll be traumatizing the next week, and we'll talk about some of my traumatizing ass
Yeah,
shit.
I was thinking maybe like every few episodes we'll do a story time, kind of like this a little bit. Maybe not as heavy every time, Jesus Christ, but me and her have been through a lot of stuff. So,
but yeah, we love you guys. Follow us everywhere.
Follow
Peanut
us
Gallery Podcast on everything. I'm Imaz on everything. Imaza Makeup by Imaza, and she's Tegan Rosie on everything. We're exhausted now, I think, so I'm like stuttering.
I'm ready to go home and color some eggs. Happy Easter, everybody.
Happy fucking Easter,
Yeah.
bitches.
I am gonna go color eggs when I get home, though.
Good.
See ya.
We love you. Bye.